David Brister again with another episode of Chordplay. This is Unlocking Harmonic Minor Chords and Progressions. So the harmonic minor scale is definitely a very popular and exotic scale in music. And for a lot of guitarists out there, usually Yngwie is the first person who introduces you to this scale. I know that's true for me. When I first heard, Yngwie Malmsteen play, I was like, what in the world is he playing? Like it sounded so different to my ear. And even though I had listened to, classical music and some different styles of music before I heard Yngwie, I just really wasn't prepared for, the exotic sounds of harmonic minor and Phrygian and, Phrygian dominant. And there's some different things that kind of, creep into his music. And not to mention, diminished arpeggios and all these other things that were going on. So even though that's really cool, and I do like neoclassical rock and metal, we're not really going to unlock a bunch of Yngwie licks here. There are tons of lessons and videos online unlocking that. So we're not really going to worry about Yngwie's thing, even though Yngwie's cool, but we're not going to do that. We're going to unlock chords and progressions and really try to absorb and understand this sound and tonality and, how you might be able to approach, writing music using harmonic minor, how to approach some of the chords that exist in this key, and how to imply some of the sounds that come from harmonic minor. Okay, so first up, let's just address what harmonic minor is. So it's basically a natural minor scale with a raised 7, all right? So if you think of, let's just put it in the key of E, just to keep everything real easy here, the easy key. All right, so think of E minor. Now think of E natural minor, which would normally have a 7th, which is a D. Now harmonic minor is going to raise that to a D sharp. So it has a very different flavor and sound. It's very, kind of Middle Eastern or exotic. So if we were going to take that scale and turn it into some sort of chord or chord form, it would be an E minor major 7 is what that tonality would kind of produce. And that looks and sounds something like this. Really unusual chord. Right? E minor major 7. Don't get that confused with E minor major 9, which that's also known as the James Bond chord. So there's E minor major 9, which that's an awesome chord. Makes me think of Goldfinger and Sean Connery and stuff. Let's go ahead and harmonize a harmonic minor scale just to see, what chords we can uncover. And I know the first time I ever saw this, broken down, or I ever had it, kind of in front of me, like in a lesson or a book, it was actually an old issue of Guitar World magazine that had Joe Satriani, and Satriani had a column in Guitar World back in the day, and he was basically harmonizing, the harmonic minor scale, which at the time I had never seen that before. And I remember he listed chords, and he showed this little piece. And that actually is the song Tears in the Rain. And I remember the song has all these really interesting chords. And I learned the piece. I had no idea that it was actually a song, that he was going to release. But I learned the piece and I learned those chords. And I remember thinking it was so strange and bizarre. I was used to power chords. I was used to playing like Van Halen and Zeppelin and stuff like that. And all of a sudden here I am playing all these crazy, outer space chords. And that was the first time I ever saw this, broken down. We take the notes from the E harmonic minor scale, which there we have E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D sharp, and E. But if we take those notes and harmonize them, or just turn each one of those notes into a chord, and we're just stacking triads basically, But if we do that with this scale, it's going to create this really strange assortment of chords. So we're going to kick things off with that E minor major 7, which is super bizarre. And if that's where we're starting, then you can only imagine it's just going to get weirder as we go along. So now F sharp minor 7 flat 5 would be the 2 chord. And then a G, let's see, a G major 7 sharp 5 would be the 3 chord. Really strange chord. And then an A minor 7, and then a B7, C major 7, D sharp minor 7 flat 5, or I guess D sharp diminished, and then we're back at the E minor major 7, which that's a harmonized, E harmonic minor scale, which those chords are so weird, right? But that's the harmonized harmonic minor scale. For most musicians, when they think of harmonic minor, or they're going to attempt to approach using it, or they have used it, they didn't really use the selection of chords that we just uncovered from harmonizing the scale. Because, although you can find plenty of places that use, minor 7 flat 5 and minor major 7 chords and things like that, you're not going to hear a lot of love songs and pop songs, and, you're not going to hear popular music revolve around those sounds. There's no way. That's not going to happen anytime soon, unless there's a major shift, with listening trends in pop music, because that's not going to happen. So, classical music, jazz, fusion, prog rock, something, a little avant-garde or a little out there, yeah, it's going to feature those chords, but in traditional, just rock music and country and bluegrass and funk and reggae and metal and different styles that you hear, those sounds really aren't that common, or as common. You'll see them, but maybe just 1 or 2 of those chords might appear. Not that barrage of just crazy tonalities, because most people's ears just can't take those sounds. So let's revert back to something more familiar, something a little bit more normal, I guess you could say. Like, let's just make the 1 chord E minor. Okay. Okay, something you can recognize, not that. If you were paying attention while we kind of walked through those chords, the 5 chord was actually B7, which is right there. Now, for most people, when they hear, a minor 1 chord followed by a 5 chord that's major, especially if it's a 7th, like dominant 7th chord, it brings out the harmonic minor sound. And you might be thinking, well, why is that? It all has to do with the major 3rd right there. There's the D sharp that we have in harmonic minor. And there it is hiding, right in the middle. Well, it's not really hiding, it's in plain sight, it's right there. And there's this nice resolution. That's voice leading in action right there. That D sharp really wants you to go up a half step to E, right, to resolve that. And that's all, that's resolution. Resolution, voice leading, kind of moving the chords, and the notes within the chords are kind of pushing each other around in a way. So that D sharp is begging you to move it to E, and your ear kind of thanks you when that happens, where it's like, oh my gosh. And then there's that resolution, it resolves. This minor 1 to a major 5 has been used in tons of songs, and I'm just going to play through a couple chord progressions just to help you hear, what I'm talking about here. So let's go all the way back to like the Animals' House of the Rising Sun. It's a very, very common ground song. Lots of people are familiar with that song. It's a very famous song. It's very old too. But House of the Rising Sun, of course, you know, starts in A minor, and we've got this you know, C and D to F, but right here, A minor to E major, right there. You know, there's the minor 1 and the major 5. Now, anytime you've heard that little progression, which that's a very popular progression on guitar because it's super easy. You're just moving the same shape to a different set of strings. So that's been around the block, you know, more times than a kid with a new bike. You know, that's a very worn out progression. But that's what you're hearing. That's an implying harmonic minor right there. Now let's grab another song like Hotel California by the Eagles. You know, another very famous and popular song. Hotel California does the same type of thing. Starts off with B minor, and then it goes to F sharp 7 right there. So that's a minor 1 to a major 5, and it's just totally flirting with that harmonic minor flavor. Okay, there it is in action. Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. Right there, you know, there's, you know, D minor, which is the 1, and he walked down and eventually hit the 5 chord, which is A major. And he even bends that B up to a C sharp, which is the major 7. So he's totally playing with your ear there. Mark Knopfler's a genius. Right? One thing I like to do when I find a chord progression I like is I'll turn the chords into an arpeggio just so I can get a better idea of what I'm dealing with and what it sounds like. So if we take, you know, E minor and B7 and just convert those into, say, you know, some string skipping shapes like Paul Gilbert likes to use. And if you don't know these shapes, you can actually find them in another late night lesson. I think it's actually a 3-for-all lesson. But look for the Paul Gilbert arpeggio lesson and you can find these arpeggios. But we need E minor and B7 or B major. And here we're going to find, you know, E minor right here in the 12th position. And then right next door we can find B major right there. And we're basically just implying the same thing that the chords did, but now we're implying that sound with arpeggios instead of chords, which is really cool. And you can make little sequences and licks. And just kind of outline, you know, the sound of that chord progression. The last idea here is just another chord progression that we're going to pull from, you know, the harmonized harmonic minor scale. But once again, we're going to use implied chords. We're not going to grab from the kind of twisted grab bag of chords that we, you know, uncovered earlier. We're just going to stick with just basic, you know, triads, major and minor, just to kind of imply the sound of harmonic minor. So this is going to be a 1-5-6-4. And in the key of E minor, you know, related to harmonic minor or implying harmonic minor, that would be E minor, and then B7 or B major, and then C major, and then we're going to go to A minor, which would be the minor 4 chord. Turn that chord progression into arpeggios and see what happens. So there's E minor, there's B, and we already had that. Now if we move that up 1 fret, there's C right there. And then we just move back to the 12th fret and play a minor shape, there's A minor. But if I apply that sequence that I played earlier to that progression, it sounds really cool. Definitely keep your eyes and your ears open because you can hear this in pop music and classical music and jazz and rock and metal and a whole bunch of different styles of music. So leave me some comments and some feedback, and please subscribe to Late Night Lessons, and I'll be back with some more lessons before you know it. Thank you.